Hello and welcome to Tech with Heart. I am your host, Michelle Calloway. Tech with Heart, it's all about empowering entrepreneurs to embrace technologies and systems and strategies that'll help them stay competitive and relevant in a rapidly changing digital environment. Today's topic is kind of about how can small business owners avoid getting sued? That's not always something you want to talk about, but we do have an expert here today, and he's really all about helping make sure that all small business owners thrive in a digital environment and don't get sued. He's actually the author. His name is Barry Cohen, and he's the author of a book, 10 Ways to Get Sued by Anyone and Everyone, the Small Business Owner's Guide to Staying Out of Court. So it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek title. Let's go ahead and welcome to the Tech with Heart stage, Barry Cohen.
Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here and talking about this topic that, yes, it's important. I mean, oh my goodness, digital era, right? We are talking about a lot of different aspects, little touch points of things that you need to be making sure you're doing properly as a small business doing business online. So what are some of the top things that small business owners can stay on top of and do well so that they can avoid being sued? Can you go ahead and just start listing off some?
Sure. I mean, we have to look at everything from how your website is put together, where the content comes from, making sure you're not infringing on somebody else, making sure that you're securing your clients' data, your employees' data, your customers' data. You've got to also make sure that all your communications are documented and also accessible. In general, Michelle, the premise here is, as you said, to keep people out of court. Now, the minute you hang out your shingle and go into business, you step into a minefield. There's somebody around every corner waiting to sue you for something. So, the book is not going to replace having good, competent legal counsel. But what I say is that if you follow what we have given you in advice in the book, you'll be calling your counsel a lot less often. So
which could save a small business like a ton of money there, right there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So these are just common principles that not even a lawyer has to necessarily get involved in, but I know you're going to go ahead and kind of go into a little bit more detail. So please do.
Sure. All right. So again, let's talk about websites to begin with, because that's everybody's hub in the digital world. The most important thing to think about is your content, right? Where did it come from? You want to make sure that your web developer did not use anything that is not authorized, right? So whether we're talking about images, we're talking about sound, we're talking about video, it's got to be either your own proprietary or something you have licensed or something that you have secured permission to use. So, for example, you can't just take your favorite music video and show it on your website, or you're infringing on somebody else, and the costs are tremendous for lawsuits. Let's take music in particular, because music is a peculiar thing. Music rights extend from, number one, there's a right to the composition. Who composed the music? That's copyrighted. Secondly, who performed the music? That's a separate copyright. In addition to that, who recorded the music? The recorded version is yet another copyright. But on top of that, again, the digital world has made things wonderful, but at the same time, it's made things more complicated because we now have the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, which means anything that is going online is digitized, has yet another set of rights attached to it. So you have to make sure you're not infringing on anybody else's rights. You can't swipe that picture that you love of the person from the Home Depot website, right? You just can't do that. So again, you want to make sure that nobody else is infringing on your site, but at the same time, you want to make sure that you're not infringing on anybody else's. And that goes not only for your site, but obviously all your digital communications. So whether it's your blog posts or whether it's your articles, anything that you send out, if you're asked to write a guest blog for somebody else, you want to make sure the same way. And of course, right now, the big one is AI. Everybody wants to know, what can I and what can't I do with AI? Well, first of all, the US Copyright Office will not even copyright a book that was written by AI. There are tools that will detect AI, right? So yes, AI is a great tool and it's going to help you do the routine things, right? So that you can be freed up to do the more important things, but you don't want to rely too heavily on it. You want to make sure that if you use something like OpenAI, like ChatGPT, that you have reviewed whatever it spits out, because again, it is scraping the web. It is pulling up other people's content. You want to make sure that you're not infringing on somebody else.
Hey, can
So
I just
those,
also throw in a rule of thumb there, Barry, is that when you are using AI to help you generate content, whether it be writing a book or writing a blog or article or whatnot, not only should you review it and actually read what it's come up with, you should also modify it by 20% to make it your own. So that will debunk any AI bot detector that is out there scanning. And that will also help with your SEO, your search engine optimization, because there may come a day where all AI content will just be like looked over, glossed over, and you don't want that to happen. So it's a great tool. Don't get me wrong. I recommend people utilize AI, but you still have to have human involvement. So modify it by about 20%. That's a good rule of thumb.
excellent advice, Michelle. So, again, I mentioned before in the opening about securing your clients' data, your customer data, your employees' data. Think about it, especially if you're in a sensitive industry. We almost all end up collecting some form of what we call PII, personal identifying information. So that could be social security numbers, driver's license numbers, but especially if you're in a sensitive industry, if you're a healthcare provider, if you're an insurance agent, if you're an attorney, if you're an accountant, a CPA, you're collecting all kinds of personally identifiable information. And if you haven't secured that properly and it ends up being hacked, you end up becoming liable for it. So it's extremely important that you take all steps to make sure that you have good security. And here's something that's come up as recently as this week. Also make sure that your third-party vendors and providers are using proper security. Just in the past week, I received 2 letters that the same company had a breach, right? The same third-party provider that serviced 2 other companies in the insurance and the financial services industry that somehow had a breach. And of course, what happens then? Then you have the whole cascading scenario of, what happened? When was it noticed? What did they do about it? Do they inform everybody properly? Do they give you, monitoring services? So it's extremely important, because otherwise this is going to come back and haunt you.
When you say haunt, that is an understatement. So again, don't take being in business online lightly, especially if you're collecting people's information. I know that you have to have a privacy policy in place. If you have any opt-in forms on your website whatsoever, give people visibility into what you're going to be doing with their data. Give them options to opt out of those types of things. Right, Barry?
Absolutely. And we also talked about employee communications. You've got everything from, performance appraisals to, people's personal medical information, if they work for you, their home phone numbers, their family members, all of that has to be safeguarded. But at the same time, it's got to be accessible and available. So, consider maybe creating some kind of a portal that people can access, because today, again, look at the remote workforce, right? Everybody's not around the water cooler in one office anymore. And with a widely dispersed situation, there's more confusion, there's less communication, and you have to make sure that you have good digital communication so that people can find what they need. They can find those critical forms, they can access a handbook, your EEO policy, your harassment policy, whatever it is, it has to be well documented. Again, I mentioned performance appraisals. This is one of the stickiest areas of all, not only in the digital world, but, in general. That information has to be safeguarded, secured, but it also has to be accessible to the employee. They have to be made aware if there's a negative, performance appraisal going on.
Being able to do business online is crucial for survival, especially during times of social distancing. So how do you survive and thrive in the sea of digital noise? It's a lot like fishing. You need to know who your perfect customer is so that you can use the right kind of lure to attract them. We help you catch your perfect customer and retain them for future sales through highly converting websites, influencer mobile apps, getting you featured in the news and on TV. Hi, my name is Jerry Bowden, U.S. Army veteran and president of Revealio Software Solutions. Our goal is to help you rise above the competition, be seen as an expert authority in your industry, and embrace technology to stay competitive for long-term success. It's more affordable than you may think. So reach out to us at revealio.com and together we will make your business come alive.
Those are such great points. I know for those small organizations, small businesses, it might be a little easier to kind of keep some of this stuff under wraps with an encrypted cloud like type of file storage. But as you get bigger and you have an HR department, there definitely needs to be even heavier encryption. And you just need to make sure that not just anybody within the HR department can gain access to these files. You have to definitely keep them, only the higher level ones with proper access to this sensitive data. So all of these things are such great points. Is there more? I mean, you're giving us such wonderful things to think about. It's not a sexy topic, it's not a fun topic, but it's a necessary topic. What else, Barry?
It is, but there's so many things that we cover. And again, this was co-authored with an attorney, obviously, who interviewed other attorneys. We didn't just fabricate this or come up with it out of the blue, but we go into things like the agreements you have. Our basic premise in this book to keep people out of trouble really is all about making sure that everything is reduced to writing. If there was any one point you walk away with from this book, it's all about that. We actually have a memory expert that we quoted in here. It talks about the fact that your memory is not the same as somebody else's memory, and if you're in business, everything's got to be in writing, and obviously, secured. Whether it's communication between partners, communication amongst, customers, vendors, right? You just can't assume, right, terms are going to be understood and agreed to by a handshake or by verbal. It's absolutely got to be reduced to writing. And of course, now in the digital world, you have the ability to do that quicker, easier than ever before. You can even do DocuSign remotely now. So very important point is make sure everything gets reduced to writing. And that, again, what does that mean? That means whether it's your sales terms, right, or whether it's your payment terms, right, or whether it's your employment policies, right, or whether it's the agreement amongst the partners or members of your organization, right? When we started our company, we actually had everybody sign off not only on an operating agreement, but on a compensation plan appended to it right from day one.
No, that's really good. And I'm also just going to throw in there too, with the digital world, that we can, when we are onboarding, you can record onboarding sessions on Zoom or whatnot, especially for, like I said, for smaller corporate companies. And then you can have that now be transcripted. It's like so many resources are available to us with AI to transcribe that video so that you can also save that in writing, what was said, what was shared, what was agreed upon, and in a video setting. If you're talking about hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars in transactions, you definitely want to do as best as you can to document written, audibly, and video as much as you can. Any potential like uneasiness that you may feel when it comes to their understanding of something versus your understanding of something. And so that's just another great tool that's in everybody's arsenal these days.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Michelle, because this book was actually written by conducting Zoom interviews, recording them, and then using speech to text software to transcribe, and then editing from the transcripts. So
yeah, because you don't have to save the whole video. If you just can save the transcript, you can prove at such and such a timestamp, so and so said such and such, so it's just so beautiful to have it all in writing. And there's lots of different types of software out there that you can work with your teams to be able to keep track of who was assigned what and what date was agreed upon. And so that they can't say, well, you never said that. It's just so many different ways you can do it online. And if anybody has any questions or any, concerns or anything, we can ask you to reach out to Barry here, and he's going to give us information a little bit later. And you can also reach out to us at techwithheartnetwork.com and ask a question, join our community. So there's all kinds we're here to help. We're here to empower. So there are resources, and you can also Google things. You can Google.
Absolutely.
So what else, Barry?
What else? You know what? It's just, again, you have to think about everything you do. And everything you do online is out there. The most important thing to remember is the fact that almost everything can and will be hacked. As one of my IT clients says, it's never a question of if, it's only a question of when, that we will all at some time or other have our data breached. So take all the precautions you possibly can to secure everything you're doing.
So I'm going to give some simple thoughts too as well. I do a lot of video work for clients. And so when I go, like I'm getting ready to do a big video shoot for a client who works with some sensitive clients, some people that may not feel very comfortable at all having their likeness shared on video. But maybe they're okay with their audio, right? So one of the things that we recommend all people do if they're going to use in business, that if they're going to go capture video footage that they could potentially use to promote their organization, is to make sure you are getting a media release for people's approval for you to use their testimonial, their likeness, them group. And if it's an event and you're just taking random background shots, you can also make it a necessary click to agree that if they attend that event, that they're okay with being filmed, and that film, that they're releasing all rights to any footage of them that you may have captured at that event. So there's ways to like encompass an entire event, and then there's a way to encompass just one particular person that you hope to highlight within a short video or whatnot.
That's so important, Michelle. I'm glad you brought that up, because again, whether it's their face, whether it's their voice, right, whether it's a photo or video or audio, all of that, if it's for commercial use, if you're using it to further your commercial enterprise, then yes, you do need a release. Now, conversely, if it's strictly for newsworthy purposes, that's different. You may not need a release.
Yeah, maybe you can share like a scenario, help us kind of understand what you just said.
Right. Okay. So if you're at an event and you are there in the capacity of a reporter, right, you're capturing this information to share with media, right, then you don't need that release, right? But if you're using it for your own website, your own newsletter, for your business, then you need the release.
Okay. Well, thanks for that clarity. That's important. You can't go sue a news station for capturing you on video when you were there at the actual event. So, right?
Well, and to add to that, to add to that, Michelle, there's the issue of, without going too deep into the woods, of fair comment, right? If somebody is a public figure, they have fewer rights than a private person. If you're a private person, you've got more rights to privacy than a public figure does.
Wow. Makes you want to just go become a public figure, doesn't it? I'm just having fun with this. We lighten it up a little bit. I definitely know that the more public a figure you are, it just seems as though you just have less privacy, period. Like if people come up to you out of the blue and just like start grabbing your attention, and you don't get that when you're just an ordinary unknown. So 10 ways to get sued by anyone and everyone. The Small Business Owner's Guide to Staying Out of Court. Let's have you hold that book up for posterity one more time. Is there anything else before we move into a close here, Barry, that you would like to mention that's also in there beyond the technology stuff that we did talk about? Because I know that there are other aspects of business.
Right, for sure. Again, I just can't help but emphasize that the whole theme of the book is all around putting everything in writing, right? All the agreements that you have. And I'll say this too, your biggest nightmare lawsuit, drum roll, is if you get sued by your spouse for divorce. There's a whole chapter in there on that. There are ways to protect yourself in that scenario, but that is actually your worst nightmare of any kind of lawsuit you could have if you're a business owner.
Well, that's just not something many want to think about, but thank you for bringing that up. And Barry, how can people reach out to you if they're interested, or just share where they could go get the book, and then share also how they can reach out to you personally?
Sure. Well, the book is available on all major online book resellers. So whether you go to Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, it's probably on Target and Walmart.com as well. Widely available. And as far as reaching out to me directly, my website is publishingmentors.com, but I'll give my individual email as well. And that would be publicist740@gmail.com.
Thanks, Barry. So this has been a very enlightening topic. And if you are a small business owner, I would take heed, just go take a look at the book. Just be in the know, because as you are the business owner, whether you've had your lawyer tell you something, or your web guy tell you something, or your tax guy tell you something, ultimately in court, you're the one held responsible. So please take advantage of these amazing resources, and let's go do it right. I think, Barry, what would you say? Your last phrase of words, would it be, get it in writing? Is that what?
Yes, get it in writing.
Get it in writing. All right. So if you're tuning in right now and you are a small business, if you're an expert and you would like to empower small business owners, please let us know. Reach out to us at techwithheartnetwork.com. We would love to interview you on the Tech with Heart show. We're looking for experts to talk about different technologies, systems, and strategies. And even Barry's topic today, as much as it was like really not high tech, there is technology involved. So we can almost always work it around so that it benefits small business owners in those realms of technology, systems, and strategies. And if you're a small business owner and technology is not your top level, comfort zone, feel free to come and join us at techwithheartnetwork.com and grow alongside other heart-centered but innovative entrepreneurs who are also on the same journey to embrace more technology in their business, but use it right. Use it in a way that's going to enhance your business relationships and keep you safe from lawsuits, right? So go to techwithheartnetwork.com. Reach out to us if you want to be on our show. We'd love to hear from you. And here is to your success.
Your story needs to be seen and heard, and your brand needs to be revealed. Revealio elevates purpose-driven businesses into the spotlight through video storytelling, augmented reality video marketing, and professional website design. Get discovered online or in the news. Be featured in national magazines or host your own TV, podcast, or live radio show. Together, we make your brand come alive. All it takes is Revealio. Visit Revealio.com to get started today. Minority and service disabled veteran owned.